Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 102 of Manifesting with Meg, Conversations with Extraordinary People. I am so excited to bring to you the personality, the influencer, the everything herself. I can't believe she's sitting in one place tonight, so that's amazing that I've got you here for this conversation. But Zibby Owens, we are now talking about our theme tonight, The Surrender Makes You Strong. It is September, the month of sweet inspirations. I couldn't think of a better topic or a better theme for you. You're definitely inspiring. You do amazing things in this world, and you keep doing it, and you keep doing it. And if you read her beautiful memoir, Bookends, you'll know the impetus or the actual push behind what she does and learn a lot about her, as well as her striving and her just everything. So without further ado, I get to introduce her to you. Like I said, this is a show about transformation, dreams, inspiration, true happiness, discovering bliss. We're just one conversation away from extraordinary. Certainly we do have that in the room. We invite all of you to follow along with us. The monthly inspirational category is in sweet inspiration. Pick a number, set your intentions, and away we go. Zibby Owens, podcaster, publisher, CEO, and founder of Zibby Owens Media, a privately held media company designed to help busy people live their best lives by connecting to books. I want to say this at the outset. You are in service to the storyteller, and that's a beautiful place to be. Is to usher in the opportunity for many people through you to tell a wonderful story. Also tell those wonderful stories, including Zibby Books, a publishing house for fiction and memoir, Zcast, a podcast network powered by Acast, including your own award-winning podcast, Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books, and Moms Don't Have Time to ... everything, right? A new content and community site, including Zibby's virtual book club events and the former Moms Don't Have Time to Write. Congratulations to you on your beautiful Zibby mag. That is awesome. I want to say, everyone, if you haven't seen it, go to her webpage, zibbyowens.com, correct? And go check it out. I'm sorry, that's correct,
yeah,
right?
You can just go to zibbymag.com.
Zibbymag.com. It's beautiful. It goes through this whole entire, visual delight. You'll get to see everything that she's up to. And I definitely recommend you all do that. You're a regular columnist for Good Morning America and a frequent guest on morning news shows recommending books. And boy, do you read. My God, you read so much. I don't even know how you have the time. But once again, moms don't have time to read books. There's the origin story for certain, correct? You're the editor of 2 anthologies, Moms Don't Have Time to Have Kids, and Moms Don't Have Time, a quarantine anthology, a children's book, Princess Charming, and now, like I said, the memoir Bookends, a memoir of love, loss, and literature. You obviously love to write. You regularly pen essays. You started your first one on 17 magazine in 1992. Love the story about that as well. You live in New York with your husband, who's also a huge creative. Just got back from Toronto with that wonderful story, and sharing that creativity between the two of you is amazing. He owns Morning Moon Productions and your 4 children. And this is you tonight. So it's so great to have you on the show. I laugh because I definitely will say that I'm multitasker extraordinaire. I think I found someone who just beats me at any game. How do you do it all, right? Isn't that the question everyone always asks you? How do you do it all?
Am I supposed to answer that? I have no idea.
Okay. You have no idea. That's perfect.
It's so nice. By the way, I'm looking at the comments, and I just want to say hello to everybody who's here. So many names who I recognize and people I know, and that just totally made my night. So thank you to everybody watching and commenting.
I love my audience are fantastic. They love to read, they love to learn, and they have an incredible curiosity. And like I said, you also match that. You are in service to the storyteller, and all of these wonderful storytellers have shown up tonight. And I think it's to be that collaborative energy that really makes you feel good about what you bring to the world, and kind of gets really excited about that something wonderful that can happen once you put it out there. Did I miss anything? Is anything other going on in your world right now that I haven't covered?
I will say we just released our spring list for our Zibby Books today, and we're doing one book reveal a day for the whole week of our first 5 books. So that's going on Zibby Books and on that. But yeah, I mean, that's basically it. You covered most of it.
That's basically it. Well, my favorite quotes is from Jim Henson, and he's our creative quote tonight. The attitude you have as a parent is what your kids will learn from more than what you tell them. They don't teach them. Remember what you are. And you having 4 kids and your whole journey, I like to call it the hero's journey so far. I imagine that our children, and I have 2 kids, they look at us and they see us and what they do in their life, or how far that it's like they say we build on the shoulders of giants. Certainly in your family, you and your husband are the giants. They're watching you. In my family, I like to say that I'm doing this so you can have an easier time finding out what it is that you're called to do.
You are the only person in the world who would ever call my husband and me giants. I am 5'2", and I won't reveal his height, but let me just say that is not usually how people describe us.
I see it as an energetic thing. And certainly, I think everyone here on the feed might as well. You had an idea. Somebody, you have an idea. You start to nurture those ideas. And then you start to see, it's kind of like, Jack and the Beanstalk, right? You start climbing up the beanstalk to find the gold, and you keep going. And it's a beautiful, beautiful path when you're joined with someone that gusto and that support and that enthusiasm. And one of the things I love about this time of year, September, is that we're facing the last end of 2022. We're all like those goals that we started with in early January. Now we're looking at that gut check. I don't think that that's something that you can say is I haven't reached those goals I set out. I mean, where are you and with all of this right now?
Yeah.
The whole surrender, that whole, what's the storytelling?
It's true. My whole life I wanted to write a book, and then it came out, and I felt like, what do you do after you accomplish the thing that you've been working towards your whole life? Then what happens? So that's kind of where I am, and it turns out you just, at least for me, like you move right on to the next. I'm like, okay, great, that's done. Next, what's next? So I guess in terms of surrender, I'm now much more willing to follow what seems to be calling me next, because I've already kind of crossed what I wanted to do off the list.
I love it.
So this magazine, and now I want it to be in print, and I'm like negotiating a lease for a store. I'm like, what am I doing? A store? What am I going to do in a store? But like, I really want to do that. So I don't know. I don't know where I am, but I'm letting my calling sort of drag me along.
And let me ask you this. Do you feel most days that you are following your bliss now?
Yes, I feel like I have figured out what makes meaning in my life. And I had this amazing interview. It's going to come out tomorrow in a 2-part episode with Neil deGrasse Tyson that I keep talking about. He's this famous astrophysicist. He has a book coming out called Starry Messenger. But he talked all about the meaning of life and how people think you'll find it like buried somewhere in some corner. But really, the meaning of life is the meaning you make of your life. And I just keep thinking that over and over, and how part of it is helping others and putting good energy out into the world. And I feel like, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. Like, I could get hit by a car tomorrow, knock what I want, but like, I've put forward who I am in every way. I've shared my soul in my memoir. I regularly like do things like this and talk to people and try to connect with as many people as possible and inspire and all of it. So I don't know. I don't know why it's so unlikely that this is where my life ended up in the last 5 years, but I'm going with it.
And then see where it takes you. And then the next door opens and the next door opens. And then you meet this other magical connection and you meet this other magical connection. You're just like, Neil and Neil Tyson class. You're like, wow, this is like, he's like big. I mean, for anyone who's in that world, who's a huge scientist, like he's like, you go to the Washington, D.C. Museum, Smithsonian, and you see him talking about black matter there. And you're just like, these are the people that we go to figure out how small or how big we are in the world, right?
Yes.
And he's telling you this. And then how did you, I'm curious, like after having a conversation like that, how did you walk away your life in a different.
Yes, I do feel differently about life, and I hope everyone listens because I feel like he shared the secrets of the universe. And I'm like, maybe my role in this whole thing has been to have this one conversation with him and get it out to more people, and that's why I've been put here on earth, but who knows? But it was supposed to my podcasts are always 30 minutes, and we just kept talking and talking, and I kept being like, "We're just about out of time," and it was in person.
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Why? Why? I'm having a blast. I'm learning more than I've learned in a long time. Forget it." So I was like, "We'll just do it. We'll do it as a double episode. I've never done that before, but it's my show, so who cares?"
Well, you are the boss and you get to call the shots, which makes it a different experience altogether. But at the conversation, how did you see yourself differently? Like experience differently?
Well, I think about time and death a lot. As you've seen in Bookends, like I have experienced loss. A lot of people have experienced loss, especially by the time you get to the mid 40s or 50s or wherever how old you are. And I always feel like that is part of what motivates me is that I'm constantly racing against time. Like I am very aware that time is running out. And so every day I'm like, okay, gotta go. Let's go. Like, better go fast. Like, everything is fast. I'm like reading fast. I'm typing fast. I'm going, going, going. And what he was saying is, you know, you don't have to fear it. Like, it's going to come. And that's part of what's making your life so beautiful right now. And
Mm,
also, before, and he also said, um, this is now just the regurgitate Neil deGrasse Tyson show, but he also said that there are so many possibilities of the human genome. Like there's like had 30 zeros behind it, and yet there are only 100 billion people who have lived. So the very fact that all of us right now are alive
yeah.
is this unlikely gift. So I don't know, it put a spring in my step.
Of that. And I think that we all need an opportunity to have a spring in our steps. And certainly one of the things that I love about my show, and I will say that I love this, is because when I ask people to share their inspiration, I get some good quotes. And I know we might not be the ones that you would pick, actually really good ones. They're really good ones. And I definitely want to share this with everyone because I think, the surrender makes us strong, but words like this, we're all in this together. What does this mean to you? Obviously, at least something that makes this together, but go ahead.
Well, I feel this way all the time. I feel like the connections between people, that's the most important thing. And we're all in this together is no matter who you are or what the sort of trappings of your life are, the emotions that we all share, love, loss, grief, excitement, misery, like all of the stuff that we go through emotionally is shared. And
Yeah.
when we go through it, that's why when we go through these horrific events, like weather events, like earthquake, like this Puerto Rico hurricane right now, you're just like, "Oh my gosh," like we can all feel it because
Yeah.
that's what we got. I mean, obviously, we're very lucky. I hope this is making sense. Obviously, I'm not in a hurricane right now. I feel horrible for the people affected by the hurricane. All to say, like, we all know the bad things that have happened, and we can all feel it and empathize. And the more we band together to get through it all, the easier life will be. And I think that sort of empathy and connection piece is really important. But now I feel like I've dug myself into a hole. I didn't mean anything bad about
No,
the
okay. First of all,
hurricane.
there's nothing that you said that is bad, but what you're saying is huge. The compassion we have for other people who through some challenging times is what makes us human. That we all will reach out to each other, feel for other people. That is something that we're aware of, and that we're all, we're in this together. We all like see, and you can't help but care and have the empathy that you're talking about. And I think that one of the things in your book Bookends, and everyone's saying there, you're so accessible and more hailed Bookends. It's the Bookends is an incredible conversation, and the most amazing thing I see is that books. conversation, every corner, every moment in your life, you anchored it in a book that impacted you. And I was loving it because that's what I do. And that was like really one of the things, that I think is amazing about other authors is that you just say, don't miss the plot. It's an unknown quote, but mean to you, you read so much, but at the same time.
You're breaking up a little, so I may have missed
Okay.
that. But I will say for this quote was from my therapist, my therapist
Awesome.
before I quit going to therapy because I didn't have time anymore, much to the dismay of probably my entire family. But anyway, she would say to me, like, don't miss the plot. And I say that to myself all the time when I'm so distracted or I'm working too much and like the kids are doing something important in front of me and I'm like on my phone or I'm doing something and I'm like, ugh, this is not what's important. Like I'm not even gonna remember who I emailed tonight. Like what was I even doing for the last hour? But I try to do everything and I feel like that's usually good enough, but sometimes it really is not good enough. Um, so this is a good reminder for me that the little things we do all day are important, and this like sort of single-minded focus I have right now on what I'm doing, this work that I'm doing, which propels me like all the time. It's not changing the planet. Like I can go watch Jumanji with my kids for an hour and like nothing bad is going to happen. But if I don't, they'll remember it. So I don't know. Tonight I kind of was watching and I was kind of emailing at the same time. And I'm like, I don't know. Did that count? I don't know. Anyway, I don't know. I'm just doing my best.
I think that, the whole point is that don't not be pay attention to what's going on around you. Like, and that is the battle. When you're actually conscious about what is happening, aware about what is happening, then you can make the next right decision. Then you do the best, basically what we're all doing most days, which I love. Hang on. Seize the day. Okay, this is a great quote. Tell me what this means.
Yeah, I mean this is very Dead Poet Society of me, but I
I
really
love it.
do, right? I really do believe
I
though that
love it.
every day this sounds so cheesy, but uh it, like I'm just so lucky that I'm waking up for another day. And obviously sometimes I'm tired and in a terrible mood and I'm not feeling all this like grander vision and it's just a terrible morning. But uh I'm like, okay, well, what am I gonna do with this day? Like, how can I make this day better? How can I do it better than yesterday? It's sort of like when I play tennis. It's like I'll hit a stroke and then I'm like, well, what can I do better? What did I do wrong? What did I do right? Like I'm constantly analyzing and trying to improve. And did I spend too much time on this? Why didn't I work on my novel today? Why did I spend all day editing one of the Zibby books? Like, why? Like, so
Yeah.
maybe tomorrow I need to like prayer, but I was going to have to do that anyway. So I have this, as we all, I'm sure do have this constant, not only our output is, but then the analysis of the output overlaid on top of that, which is all altogether kind of exhausting. So
In many ways, because some you're the worst critic for yourself, and you're just like, you just want to say, like, look yourself in the mirror and say, okay, this. I'm gonna go to. I'm gonna wake up tall again. Do it all again. Try my best and boxes all the time. A 13-year-old, and she'll tell me all the time. Every time I pick her up, every day I have to stop my day, pick her up, and she tells me all the time, when I'm not in the mood. And we get like, I'm like, but I just came to get you, and aren't you happy to see me? And it's just like, all right, we all are walking, and even the 13-year-olds and 90-year-olds, everybody's showing up and doing the best they can for the best part. So I love what you just said. And then do or do not, there is no try. It's a Yoda quote. I do love a good Yoda quote, but I do like action-oriented people. There's so much about something that fails, and then try again, try something.
that's true. I I like to experiment by doing the stuff, not just thinking about doing it. And it gets me into trouble sometimes when I have to backtrack or extract myself from something, which is what I'm thinking about as I have this like 5-year lease on my desk. And I'm like, what am
Oh,
I doing?
wow.
So it gets me into trouble. I know. It's probably a mistake, but I'm probably going to do it anyway. But
I don't think,
I,
yeah, I have to
I
say
think
this. One of the
it's like,
things, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, just I believe in like kind of just plowing forward, not getting, not putting on the brakes that often, but then again, this only applies to some areas of my life. Like I'm always like, I'm gonna try to eat better today, and then I don't, or like I'm gonna try to exercise. I'm gonna try to just at least walk, and then I don't even do that. So it only applies to select areas.
Well, one of the things is I just, I will say this. After reading your book, it's clear that you have a very high for yourself. It's just clear. Going to Yale, going to Harvard, coming out of that. The scene that I almost died is when you had to you were in traffic trying to make it to your child, one of your child's events. And I'm just like, oh my God, there are so many of us that are just doing it, thinking that, if we don't show up the way we want to show up, how we see it, then our kids are going to blame us for they have in their life. You're going to have something to talk about on the psychiatrist couch. So let that be the only thing. Let that be the thing you
doing this by myself. Like I do have a wonderful team. I feel like people think I am alone on this island, like working around. I mean, I am working around the clock, but there are 15 of us on my team right now, and we're all working around the clock. So it's a lot, but I'm surrounded by really smart women who all share this sense of passion and excitement, and it doesn't feel like work, and so we're just like doing it and so anyway, it's not just me. Some things are more me, but some things are very much less me. So
you back to your dream ends. I wanted to ask you, feel so compelled to tell that story? Is it that there were a lot of people that you found that needed to have that told, that you just felt it compelled? Tell me what brought you to Bookends. And like I said, everybody, this is this beautiful book, Bookends. It is her memoir, a memoir of love, loss, and literature, which is really something that speaks to you. The literature part, for sure. It seems like it's kind of like a wonderful, safety security blanket for you. But go ahead, speak to.
I have felt this need to get my story out about my best friend Stacy, who died on 9/11. And I have been writing and rewriting that for 20 years now, 21 years. And that is the piece that I could not stop trying to spread to the world. I still feel like it was my duty to share her story, her life, what was amazing about her. I still can't believe that happened to her. And that is the piece of the memoir that has made me continue to do it. I've gone through many iterations of this memoir, and some have been fictional and some have been real. This last version was the most straightforward, but all of them have that as one of the main through lines, because for me it completely changed my life. I was just reading this book by Rob Delaney, who I guess wrote a show called Catastrophe that I've never seen. But anyway, he lost his son to brain cancer, and it's this raw, emotional, gripping story. And in it, he literally questions to himself, why do I feel the need to make all of you reading this feel the pain that I feel? And he's like, because I look at life differently now. So I need you to see it. And I totally understood that, because I feel in part the same. Like I need everybody to see it. So that's the piece that I just could not put down. And then the rest of it, it was so unlikely, all these losses and the things that happened afterwards. And then my own like love story that came out of it. was also something that like anytime I started telling girlfriends about, everyone's like, what? Like, stop, let me hear. So I was like, I feel like I should put that in. Last night or 2 nights ago, Kyle was asking me and my husband, Kyle, we were talking about my novel, which I'm really like struggling with right now. And he's like, well, have you ever stopped and really analyzed all the books that like do really well? Like, what do they all have in common? And I was like, sex.
Oh, it's true.
That's what they all have in common. Like, seriously, it's all like love stories and romance and affair and indecision and sex, So I don't know. I have to now I'm like working that into yeah, I mean, that's not what my book's about. But now
I know.
I'm like, okay, I think I'll
Add it.
but I'll
Well,
put it in more.
this one's a fiction though, right? This next book.
Yes. This one is fiction. It's due in March, but I'm determined to get it in by like November. So we'll see.
Well, there you go.
But it's called Blank, and yeah, I know. I like to, set fake deadlines for myself and then stress out about them. Yeah, this is called Blank, and it's about a mom and former best-selling author living in LA with 2 teenagers and a husband, and her marriage. She's been in her marriage for a long time, and she has this second book due, and this thing happens that I won't go into, and she has to come up with this very unconventional solution to fixing the problem, and she does so with the help of her 3 best friends, and they're all in a Zoom book club around the country, and so they all sort of get together and help solve this issue.
Oh, that's awesome. That sounds like something that's appealing, especially because they say the biggest market for books is women. That you're manifesting in your life that was just like, oh my God, you'll never believe what just happened. Is it the store?
I feel like that happens to me every day.
Oh, wow. Really?
It's the people I get to talk to. It's like even just these little things, like I got an email this week, like, "Oh, how'd you like to talk to Ralph Macchio about his new book?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." I watched The Karate Kid like 8,000 times. Like, I feel like all these opportunities just make my younger self. I do for my younger self who was like on the couch watching that movie. Even the author Deborah Goodrich Royce was in this movie, just one of the guys that I watched like 800 times also in the 80s. And it's just so funny. So I feel like I keep doing all these things that I would have really appreciated when I was
sitting at the Lady Gaga concert on Saturday night in Miami. And I go, right now, wow, I can't believe, and I'm like, my daughter's there and she's like dancing around and we're like, everybody is just love and, everyone's so happy. And I'm just like, I am living my greatest teenage years.
Yes, exactly.
And I love how you're pointing that out because, it's never over until it's actually over, right? Like you just said, you get to live this life and you're following those things that call to you, which I think is amazing. So if you give advice to anyone who's out there who is wanting to manifest come true, what would you advise them? What would you tell them? What's a tool that you use that is just amazing?
Oh, what would I advise them? I mean, it's all so unlikely, but like if you don't put it out there, it's never going to come true. Like now I keep putting things out into the universe, and sometimes they don't come true, but I'm not afraid to say them anymore. Like there was some post I did the other day and I was like, I'm just like putting it out there that I would love to interview Oprah. Or I'm putting it out there that it would be so great to be in the New York Times. you know, like these are things I want. So if I keep them inside and I secretly hope, the odds of them happening are much lower than if I say them out loud. And you don't know who's listening once you put things out there. If you post them, if you say them to a group, if you say them tonight, like you just don't know. And I've been totally bowled over in gratitude by how many people have helped me. People who have come on my show, you've probably found the same thing, Meg, but people who I've interviewed over time who have turned around and helped me in some way or introduced me to someone. Like that's how this whole thing has really grown. It's because of the guests. So You just don't know. Just keep putting it out there, I guess is my advice. Just put it out there, and it might not happen, but it's like when I was trying to date somebody and my mom would be like, "Well, you're not going to meet him if you sit in front of the TV all night."
Oh my
Like,
God.
I'm like, "All right, fine. I'll
I
go
love
out."
that. I really love it because
Wait, I have to
it's
take a picture of this and send it to him. Hold on.
okay.
I'm taking a picture of our screen. Hold on. All right, smile. Okay. I'm going to post it later.
So life's to be miserable. I mean, what truer could be said? Tell me. First of all, I would love to know the story behind the story. He tells you this all the time. Tell me a little bit about how this came.
Yeah, he says this all often. He's very aware also of life and time, and maybe that's where I get it. But he's 75 now, and he's always like, "Well, it looks like I've got about 10 good years left, so I'm going to do this, and I don't care what people think." But whenever I say anything, his advice is to improve it. He's like, "There's no need." Like, his advice is always not to be irresponsible in any way, but just if you're really miserable about something, it's a way you're wasting your life. Like, you have to figure out a way out of it. And it's the same thing with, you know, hiring and letting people go and working with the right people. It's like, no, like, you have to make the decisions that are right. And usually you make them too late. You usually wish you could have made these decisions earlier, but you better get to them now. So
anyone out there who's listening, not feeling really happy or they're in that misery, life's too short. These are the words of Zibby's dad. So go take that tomorrow. Maybe make that one different move that will out of that into something even better. And I wanted to
let me just say, like, there are many, many reasons to be miserable that are justified. And I'm not trying to be flippant, and neither is he about that. Like, it's okay. Like, there are things that are, like, but if there is something you can control that. But not that we're not massively empathetic to the reasons to be miserable, which we've all been, and completely understand.
Well, I definitely appreciate that you did say that, but at the same time, sometimes you just need that wake-up call. You needed to hear tonight from you just to shift that one person out of something that they feel is desperation. Or maybe back to you though. Tell me where we can follow your show. Of course, when is the with Neil going to be coming out? We got to that and we want to see that. So when is that going to be airing? And
tomorrow. It's tomorrow.
Oh, it's tomorrow.
To double episode, but I'm going to release them both tomorrow, like at the same time. But yeah, tomorrow morning they'll be up. Definitely listen, read the transcript, think about it. I don't know. I found it he's amazing. It's on everywhere you can get podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere. Moms don't have time to read books. And the episode I've been talking about a lot tonight is with Neil deGrasse Tyson. And it's about his book, Starry Messenger. But every single day I have a new episode, 365 days a year. I've been doing that not every day since March of 2020, and before that once a week or twice a week. And I seem to not want to slow it down because I'm not. So I really like it. Although I am experimenting this fall, and I have 3 guest hosts who are each doing 10 episodes. So we're gonna see how that goes. And I know it's helped me enormously with time management. So it's been great.
Well, I want to shout out to Diana Cooper-Smith because she is the one that turned me on to you last year before I published my memoir. She was one of your biggest fans that I've ever met.
Hi, Diana.
And she was just speaking so highly of you, and that we're all like, oh my gosh, who is this person? Content is concerned. She has great interviews. Oh, and please go out and get her book. Support her. Authors need to be supported. If you love it, go write a great review. It is really, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It is really true to her life, her story. She's very vulnerable, very open, very, go out and get her wonderful book, Bookends, a memoir of love, loss, and literature, for you to tell us what you do to keep yourself going. on and keep yourself inspired?
It's really other people who keep me inspired. It's the reactions I'm getting and comments like these and emails that I get after people read my book and or tell me that they read a book that I recommended on the podcast and they loved it. All of that keeps me going. It's so much positive feedback and it's amazing.
Well, we appreciate you. We appreciate the generosity. I absolutely do. We'll go back to saying my vision also is to engage the extraordinary person. So we benefit from their wisdom as well as becoming the deliberate creators of our life. And dream big. I'll go out there and spread positive vibrations wherever we can. So much, Zibby, for this time. I so appreciate.
Thank you, Meg.